Have you ever felt like something was wrong, even if you couldn't quite put your finger on it? That unsettling whisper in the back of your mind, telling you that despite all appearances, a quiet crisis is brewing? For Elias Vance, that nagging feeling solidified into a stark reality with the arrival of a single and signed letter. Little did he know, the journey to uncover the truth would lead him down the aisles and into the heartaches of his own employees. Elias Vance, the visionary CEO of Eastern Market, sat atop a meticulously built empire. From a single neighborhood grocery store, he'd expanded Eastern Market into a national chain, synonymous with quality produce and competitive prices. On paper, everything was perfect. Shareholder reports gleamed, expansion plans were underway, and his team of executives hummed with efficiency. Yet the anonymous letter in his hand told a different story. A chilling counter-narrative of employee mistreatment, burnout, and a toxic culture festering beneath the polished surface. The letter was brief, typed, and devoid of any identifying marks. But its words cut through Elias's carefully constructed world. Your stores are failing your people. They are overworked, undervalued, and silenced. Look closer, Mr. Vance. Much closer. A wave of disbelief, then indignation, washed over him. How could this be? He'd always prided himself on Eastern Market's people-first philosophy. Had he become so far removed from the ground level that he'd missed something so fundamental? The thought gnawed at him. He considered dismissing it as a disgruntled employee, but a seed of doubt had been planted. He remembered a recent dip in employee satisfaction scores, dismissed by HR as seasonal fluctuations. Now, it felt like a warning. Elias knew conventional methods wouldn't work. Sending in corporate auditors would only lead to a sanitized report, carefully curated to protect reputations. To truly understand, he had to see it with his own eyes, feel it with his own hands. He made a decision that would shock his board and change his perspective forever. He would go undercover. He'd be a new hire, a temporary associate at the Eastern Market store just a few towns over, a place where no one would recognize him. What are some seemingly small signs that can indicate bigger problems in a workplace? Let's discuss. For Elias Vance, the journey to uncover the truth would lead him down the aisles and into the heartaches of his own employees. The fluorescent lights of Eastern Market store number 7 hummed with a different frequency than the hushed elegance of Elias's executive suite. Here, the air hung thick with the smell of ripening fruit and disinfectant, a stark contrast to the sterile scent of polished mahogany. Elias, now Ed, in a slightly ill-fitting Eastern Market polo shirt, felt a jolt of unfamiliarity. His tailored suits were replaced by practical khakis, and his leather loafers by non-slip sneakers. His first impression was unsettling. The produce section, usually vibrant in corporate brochures, looked tired. A fallen promotional sign lay unnoticed by a display of oranges. An onion, escaped from its bin, rolled precariously in the aisle. It wasn't outright chaos, but a subtle disarray, a lack of the meticulous attention to detail Elias prided his company on. He noticed the staff moved with a certain slowness, a weariness that wasn't about physical exertion but seemed deeper, almost ingrained. There were no friendly greetings, no casual banter, just the transactional rhythm of tasks being completed. He was assigned to stocking shelves, a task he hadn't performed since his college days. As he pushed a heavy cart of canned goods, he observed a young man, his face etched with fatigue, stared blankly at a row of soup cans. An older woman, hunched over a broom, swept with methodical slowness, her gaze fixed on the floor. There was a conspicuous lack of laughter, a stifling silence that felt out of place in a bustling grocery store. This wasn't the vibrant, community-focused environment he'd envisioned. This was just work. He tried to engage his colleagues. A simple, "How's your day going?" was often met with a quick, non-committal shrug or a strained smile. He noticed employees avoiding eye contact with each other, and especially with the store manager, a man named Mr. Thompson, whose booming voice occasionally cut through the low murmur of the store. The manager's presence seemed to cast a shadow, inducing an immediate shift in demeanor among the staff. Shoulders stiffened, conversations ceased. Elias began to see subtle cues everywhere. A handwritten note on the breakroom bulletin board, hastily taped over, but not before he caught a glimpse of the word hours circled angrily. The way a cashier's smile faltered when Mr. Thompson walked past, only to reappear when he was out of sight. It was a silent language of discontent, a disconnect between the company's outward image and the reality experienced by its employees. Or some seemingly small signs that can indicate bigger problems in a workplace. Let's discuss. While the physical state of the store was concerning, it was the palpable sadness radiating from the employees that truly struck Elias. And then he met Sarah. The first time Elias truly connected with Sarah, it wasn't through words, but through an almost imperceptible tremor in her hand. He saw her at the deli counter, her dark skin glistening slightly under the fluorescent lights, her movements precise as she sliced turkey for a customer. But her hands, as she carefully weighed the meat, had a slight shake to them. She looked tired, a profound weariness etched around her eyes that even her warm, genuine smile couldn't fully mask. Sarah was a single mother, raising 2 young children, a fact Elias would learn through snippets of overheard conversation and eventually through her quiet honesty. She was relentlessly hardworking, always the first to offer help, the last to complain. But her resilience was being tested. Elias saw her patiently handle a particularly rude customer, her voice soft and professional despite the clear frustration in her eyes. Later, during a brief break in the back room, he heard her on the phone, her voice hushed, discussing an unexpected daycare fee with a worried tone. "I'll try to pick up extra hours, Ma," she murmured, but Mr. Thompson keeps cutting everyone back. His observations of Sarah deepened when he witnessed a chilling interaction with Mr. Thompson. Sarah, having worked a double shift, politely asked if she could leave 5 minutes early to catch a bus that would get her home in time to relieve her babysitter. Mr. Thompson, leaning against a stack of canned goods, crossed his arms. "Easter Market pays you for your time, Sarah, not your personal schedule," he sneered, his voice loud enough for several other employees to hear. "If you can't commit, there are plenty of others who can." Sarah's shoulders slumped, and she simply nodded, her eyes fixed on the floor. Elias felt a surge of indignation. This wasn't just poor management. It was a casual cruelty that chipped away at a person's dignity. He noticed other subtle signs. Sarah brought a frugal lunch from home each day, often just a sandwich and an apple, while others sometimes splurged on cafeteria food. She always seemed to be calculating, weighing, stretching every dollar. He overheard her in the break room, whispering with another employee, "It's just so hard to make rent when your hours keep getting cut. I don't know what I'm going to do." Her voice, usually so steady, cracked with a raw vulnerability that Elias found deeply disturbing. Elias' still-ed felt an internal shift. This wasn't just about company performance or bottom lines. It was about human lives, about dignity, about the crushing weight of invisible burdens. Witnessing Sarah's daily struggles was a stark awakening for Elias. Have you ever witnessed someone facing unfair challenges at work? How'd it make you feel? But the true extent of the problem wouldn't be revealed until he ventured into the hidden corners of the employee experience. The more Elias observed, the clearer the picture became. Mr. Thompson wasn't just a tough manager. He was a manipulator, a micromanager who thrived on control and cultivated an atmosphere of fear. Elias noticed that Thompson consistently assigned the most difficult and undesirable tasks to specific employees, including Sarah, while a select few, those who laughed loudest at his jokes or offered the most flattery, seemed to glide through their shifts with ease. One afternoon, Elias witnessed Thompson publicly reprimand a young stocker for a misplaced item, his voice rising in an unnecessarily aggressive tone, his face flushed with manufactured anger. The young man visibly flinched, his eyes wide with fear, and quickly corrected the mistake. It was a calculated display of power, designed to intimidate and keep everyone on edge. The incident sent a ripple of tension through the store. Employees avoided Thompson's gaze and spoke in hushed tones whenever he was near. The anonymous letter had mentioned cut hours. Elias needed proof. During a lull in his stocking duties, He feigned confusion about his own non-existent schedule. "Hey, Mr. Thompson," he'd said, "could you show me how to check my hours on the system? I'm still getting the hang of it." Thompson, eager to show off his authority, walked him through the scheduling software. Elias, feigning attentiveness, absorbed every detail. Later that night, armed with a carefully remembered login sequence and a stolen moment alone in the manager's office, he accessed the system. What he saw chilled him to the bone. It wasn't just random hour cuts. It was a systematic, deliberate manipulation. He saw the names of Sarah, Marcus, Linda, and Jorge, all hardworking, dedicated employees, with their weekly hours consistently slashed, sometimes just below the threshold for benefits, while Thompson's favorites consistently received overtime. There were notes in the system, brief and callous. Kendra, too many complaints about hours, reduced this week. Marcus, sick day, no extra hours for a month. It was calculated cruelty designed to punish, to control, and perhaps to save a few dollars at the expense of human dignity. The anger Elias had suppressed during his observations finally boiled over. This wasn't just mismanagement. It was an abuse of power, a betrayal of the trust he, as CEO, had unknowingly placed in Thompson. He thought of Sarah, struggling to pay for childcare, and the countless others whose lives were being made immeasurably harder by this man's callous decisions. What role does management play in shaping a positive or negative workplace culture? Share your thoughts. Armed with undeniable evidence and a heavy heart, Elias knew he couldn't remain silent any longer. The time had come for Ed to reveal his true identity and for accountability to be served. The next morning, the atmosphere in Easter Market Store number 7 was electric with a different kind of tension. Elias Vance, in his CEO attire, stood before a stunned Mr. Thompson, who was still sputtering denials. "Mr. Thompson," Elias's voice was firm, carrying the weight of his authority, "I've seen enough. Your calculated cruelty, your manipulation of hours, and your systematic abuse of my employees ends today. You're fired." Thompson's face went white, a mixture of shock and disbelief. Then Elias turned to the employees, who were now gathered, a mixture of confusion and cautious hope on their faces. "My name is Elias Vance. I am a CEO of Easter Market." A gasp rippled through the room. "And I am here to apologize. Deeply. I sent myself undercover because I received an anonymous letter, a letter that spoke of your struggles, your unheard voices, and your pain. What I witnessed here was unacceptable. I failed you. I failed to ensure you were treated with the dignity and respect you deserve." A murmur went through the crowd. Elias's gaze swept over their faces, landing on Sarah, who stood quietly at the back, her eyes wide. "Sarah," he said, his voice softer, "your resilience, your dedication, even in the face of immense pressure, has not gone unnoticed. You embody the true spirit of Easter Market. Effective immediately, I am appointing you as the new assistant manager of this store." Sarah gasped, a tear rolling down her cheek as employees around her erupted in applause. Elias continued, outlining immediate changes, a fair and transparent scheduling system, an open-door policy directly to him, and a commitment to regular, unannounced check-ins. "No one on my team will ever feel alone again," he promised. Within days, the transformation was palpable. Sarah, with a newfound confidence, immediately began restructuring the schedules, prioritizing single mothers, limiting consecutive night shifts, and ensuring flexibility for employees with family duties or classes. She fostered an environment where questions were encouraged and concerns were addressed with empathy. Marcus, previously overlooked, was given training for a new department. Linda, who had considered quitting, found renewed purpose. The store itself began to reflect the change. Shelves were meticulously stocked, the floors gleamed, and the air buzzed with genuine conversation and laughter. Employees interacted positively with customers and each other, a renewed sense of pride evident in their work. Elias returned a week later, no longer undercover, but simply to observe. He saw Sarah, her smile genuine and bright, helping a customer find a specific item. He saw the young stocker, once timid, now confidently reorganizing a display. The store felt alive, vibrant, a stark contrast to the weary atmosphere he'd found. This isn't just a story about a grocery store. This is a story about transformation, about how one act of genuine listening can rekindle hope, and how empathy can reshape not just a workplace, but individual lives. Remember, whether you're a leader or a part of the team, your voice matters. And a little bit of compassion, a little bit of genuine care can make an enormous difference. So, let's spread kindness, starting right where you are. Because when we truly look after each other, we don't just build stronger businesses, we build stronger communities.